Hi folks, my name is Chris McClure and I'm going to be your instructor for Math 141 section WW2 here at the Des Moines Area Community College. This is an online class, summer 2016. I'm going to take some time in this video to talk with you about what's in the syllabus and also a little bit about MyMathLab, where you're going to be doing your homework, and also a little bit about Blackboard, which is basically the website for this class. All right, let's take a quick spin through the syllabus. I've emailed this out to you and I've also posted this to Blackboard. And I know that you can read, so I'm not going to go through all the details here. I'm just going to highlight some things though. First of all, at the top of the syllabus, we have general information about the course and the school itself. And this is Math 141, Finite Math, section WW2. And this course reference number, that's the CRN, 5-digit number here. You'll use that if you need to add or drop or change sections or whatever. Here in this section, we have my information, including my name, an email address, office telephone number, my office location, building 4, room 10B on the Ankeny campus. I plan to hold office hours every weekday from 11 to 1, where I plan to be in my office physically. And so if you would like to come by and see me in person, that would be a good time. Blackboard is what I use instead of a course website. I will show you that here in just a few minutes. Down here we've got some more information about the course, including a course description. This comes directly from the catalog. Prerequisites here include having a minimum ALEC score of 30% or having completed Math 063, which is our elementary algebra developmental level course. Okay. Down here we have a list of the course competencies, which is basically a laundry list of the things that you would be expected to be able to do by the end of the semester. Okay, I'll let you look at that on your own. Course overview here, general definition of what a finite mathematics course is. In the textbook assigned, I plan to cover chapters 1 through 5. We're going to skip chapter 6 and then do chapter 7 through 9. Here in this paragraph, I have a general discussion of good study tips. I'm sure that you know how to study. I'm not going to tell you how to do something that I'm sure that you know how to do, but let me just emphasize a couple of things. Is that this is an online summer course. So we're taking 15 weeks of material and condensing it into 10 weeks, and it's online. So that means that you're going to have to be super diligent and organizing your time, okay, managing your time, making sure that you do some work on a regular basis. I'm not going to tell you have to do it 5 days or 6 days or 3 days or whatever. You decide, but I would discourage you from trying to do a whole bunch of material in one sitting. I would encourage you to try to spread it out and do a little bit every day. Maybe 1 or 2 hours or so, 5 or 6 days a week. That's what I would recommend. Okay. Do whatever you need to do, but please don't let yourself get behind. Is this a fast-paced course? You're going to be doing a lot of self-study, but there are resources out there available to you. For example, tutoring. Every DMAT campus has a tutoring center. You are eligible for up to 3 hours per week for each course that you take each semester. Okay, so if you think that you might need a tutor at the very beginning of the semester, is the best time for you to get into the tutoring office and sign up for a tutor. I say come into office hours. That means either physically to see me face to face on the Ankeny campus. I realize that a lot of you don't live local to the Ankeny campus, so it would be impractical for you to come see me, but I will be available to Skype with you if you so choose to do a video teleconference or whatever. But let me know. There's the Academic Achievement Center. Again, is available on each of the DMAC campuses. The AAC is a good place for you to go to have some drop-in tutoring assistance with specific questions and issues. Each AAC should have a math instructor available almost all of the time. I would like for you to talk with me, though, if something comes up that puts you behind, and we can discuss options, okay? How the course fits into the curriculum. A lot of people take Math 141 either as their standalone math course that they need to satisfy their math credit for their associate's or bachelor's degree. But if you are in a handful of certain programs like criminal justice or marketing or management or accounting, etc., Math 141 is pretty commonly taken as part of your program, usually in conjunction with our statistics course, Math 157 or Math 162. Whatever the case may be, make sure that you visit with an academic advisor, or at the very least peruse the latest course catalog to make sure that you are taking the right math courses for your program. Okay. Regarding the textbook for the course, it's entitled Finite Mathematics, very imaginative, right? Not, okay. We sell a custom edition of that textbook at the DMAC bookstore on each campus. And here's the ISBN number. Now, the custom edition basically means is that the publishers have stripped out the material that we don't teach, so that it's this thin instead of that thick. And the custom edition is paperback versus the hardback textbook. So that means that the custom edition is a lot less expensive compared to the full hardback version. Also, the custom edition textbooks that you would buy at the DMAC campus come shrink wrapped with a MyMathLab access code. The access code comes with the textbook, so it's bought and paid for. Versus if you were to go out and try to save some money and purchase a secondhand textbook somewhere, chances are it's not going to come with a MyMathLab access code. And unfortunately, folks, these access codes are getting close to about $100 now. So, you weigh your pros and cons, but I think that I would have to recommend going with the new custom edition versus a secondhand textbook, because the custom edition will come with an access code, and you really do need to get access to MyMathLab. Okay. But again, if you do buy a secondhand textbook, you're still going to have to purchase access using a credit card or PayPal account or whatever. We'll come back to that in just a minute. I'm sorry. By the way, real quick, if you don't want a hard copy physical textbook and you're okay with the electronic textbook that comes with MyMathLab, then that's perfectly fine for you just to register with MyMathLab and get access to your course, because you will have access to the electronic textbook through MyMathLab. So you don't have to buy the physical textbook, but you do have to get access to MyMathLab. Having said that, let's take a look at the required materials. Of course, I have no way of checking to see. This is all up to you, but I would recommend for you to get these things in this list. Let me highlight the fact that you really should get a graphing calculator. Now, you don't need a big fancy brand new TI-84 plus calculator or higher. I mean, for example, an Inspire would be a higher level in terms of sophistication graphing calculator. You really don't need that for this course, but if you are at the beginning of a sequence of math intensive courses, not necessarily math courses, but courses that require a lot of higher end mathematical skills, then I really would recommend that you get a higher end sophisticated graphing calculator and you start learning to use it. But if this really is your only math course, then you're okay with the lower end, TI-83, TI-84 graphing calculator. But I keep seeing graphing calculator. You really do need a graphing calculator. Theoretically, you could get by without a graphing calculator, but you'll have to really get used to using formulas and stuff. And not only that, let me also tell you that you will not be allowed to use a smartphone when you go to take your proctored test. Okay? You need a graphing calculator, honestly. Also, all of this other stuff, some of these are intangibles, but let me highlight good time management skills. Attendance, participation, these things again are on your own. I have no way of checking that except for looking to see what you do on MyMathLab in terms of amount of time spent and of course the overall scores that you achieve, at the cumulative effort of all the work that you've done in MyMathLab. That'll be one way of at least gauging how much you're engaging in the course. And of course, there's the midterm and final exam that I'll talk about in just a minute. All right, so that's basically what I'm saying here is that reiterating something I've already talked about is that you have to be diligent about staying up with your studies and do some every day. So I'm not going to repeat that. But let me do say that if you do find yourself behind for whatever reason, some unexpected event that was outside of your control happened in your life, a death or a funeral or hospitalization, an extended sickness or whatever, get in contact with me and we could talk about options, okay? But you really do need to manage whatever distractions might be out there in your life and focus on this course. Some of you this might be the first time that you've taken an online course. If you're an old veteran of taking online courses, then you know what the deal is, all right? So let me also highlight the fact that, that you really do need to be in the habit of checking your DMAC email. Highlight DMAC email. When I send stuff out to the class, it's going to go to your DMAC email. Please don't ask me to send it to your MSN or other non-DMAC email. I don't know what it is. It's going to go to your DMAC email. Now, you could set DMAC email up to forward it to your other email, but you'll have to do that on your own. So be in the habit of checking your email on basically a daily basis, at least Monday through Friday. I typically don't work on the weekends. So when I send stuff out, it's usually going to be during the weekday. So like I said, there's online homework that's going to be worth 200 points out of 600, 1/3 of your course grade. There's going to be one midterm exam and one final exam. Each of those are worth 200 points. So out of 600 points, homework is 1/3, midterm is 1/3, and final exam is 1/3. So let that sink in. 2/3 of your possible points are going to be in a proctored exam setting. Here's the sliding scale for determining your course letter grade. Of course, I will have your final grade computed and posted no later than the last day of the semester, which is Friday, August 5th. Please don't ask me beforehand what your course grade is. This is the only time I will guarantee that I will have a course grade computed. And with the caveat is that at midterm, I also will have a midterm grade computed and posted as well. Okay. Office hours, like I said, I do plan to be on campus and in my office at least 2 hours every day, 11 to 1. If those hours don't work and you want to see me in person, just give me a call or email me and we can arrange something. Or we can have a Skype session sometime. Please stay away from evenings or weekends because those I'm an Army reservist and I have teleconferences and other things going on. So basically banker's hours, 8 to 5 is when I would be available for Skype teleconferences. But again, coordinate with me ahead of time. We already talked about the fact that you're going to be doing homework using MyMathLab. Any problems that you complete past the deadline for its respective assignment incurs a 50% penalty. We'll talk here in just a couple minutes of how to get registered with MyMathLab. It's pretty straightforward, real nice and simple system to use. Let me just also highlight the fact that within MyMathLab, you'll see some assignments that are actually called quizzes or tests. Anything that you do in MyMathLab is considered homework for the purposes of this course, okay? Even though the assignment might be a quiz or exam, whatever, okay? The exam that I'm talking about down here, the midterm and the final exam, those are proctored pencil and paper exams that you're going to be taking in a proctored setting. Okay. The first exam, the midterm exam, I will give you a window of about 1 week to get into the testing center or proctor to take the tests, physical pencil and paper tests. We'll talk later about what you'll be allowed to use, but I will allow you to use a note card and, graphing calculator, scratch paper, pencil, eraser, etc., ruler, whatever. And same thing with the final exam. You'll have a 1 week window at the end of the semester to get in and take it as well. And you'll be allowed to use notes and the graphic calculator, etc., etc. The midterm and the final are both 2-hour exams. Real quick about proctoring. I sent an email out a few days ago that had the syllabus, but also it had a proctor form. It's a Word document. I'll show it to you again in just a few minutes. But basically, if you are within about a 50-mile radius of any DMAC campus, then I really would like for you to get in to that DMAC campus and take your test at the testing center. But if you live far away from any of the DMAC campuses or learning centers, then you really need to find an acceptable proctor at an acceptable proctoring site. And if you look at the top of the proctor form, you'll see who is and is not acceptable at which locations that are and are not acceptable. Okay, so start looking now for an acceptable proctor and proctoring location if you need to use a proctor. Otherwise, if you live within about 50 miles of a DMAC campus, then, or not just a campus, but a learning center, like for example, Perry. If you live within 50 miles of Perry, then you can take your test at the Perry Learning Center, for example. Or there are some locations around DMAC too that are not necessarily campuses, like for example Southridge, and you can take your test there. But I will in about 2 weeks start sending out emails asking you what are your plans. Where do you plan to take your test at, or have you done your identified a proctor yet, and have you had them send me the form or whatever. We'll talk more about proctors in a little bit, in a couple weeks. We already talked about your expectations. This right here is more applicable to face-to-face classes, so I'm going to basically skip it. But missed exams, basically what I'm saying is that if you are not able to get in to take your test within the window that I've given you, you need to contact me. I'm pretty flexible, but I'll understand that I also have some deadlines to report grades as well. So be responsible, please, and diligent, and if you know that you can't make it, then, we can make arrangements or something, okay? Same thing with late assignments. I generally will not budge on extending deadlines, though, for assignments on MyMathLab, with the caveat is that I do understand if life happens and some unforeseen incidents happens beyond your control, that forces you to get behind or whatever. Just talk with me, okay? But again, like I've already said a couple times, it's up to you to manage your time and stay on top of those deadlines, manage those. I'll show you here in a couple minutes on MyMathLab where to look for the due dates. We already talked again about study expectations, be diligent, stay on top of it, seek help if you need it, etc., etc. All right, the rest of this stuff is for you to look at on your own. Bunch of resources here. Academic Achievement Center, dishonestry/plagiarism policy. Really the big way that this applies to this course, actually is two ways. Number one is in the past I've had issues with students having other people do their online homework for them. And my philosophy is, okay, if you want to have somebody else do your homework for you, I really have no practical way of tracking that, but that's not going to really help you learn the material. So hey, if you wanted to cheat, and you're just hurting yourself. Okay, learning math requires some effort. So, and not only that, if you cheat on this class, that you're probably going to cheat in some other class too, and you'll probably eventually get caught anyway. The other way that this comes into play is if you were to have somebody else come in and take the test for you. If they somewhat resemble you, you're going to have to produce a photo ID if you take the test at the DMAC testing center. Okay, and we've had instances of siblings or cousins or just two people who look alike having one person take the test for somebody else. All right. Again, you may or may not get away with it, but if you get caught, there's very serious consequences. Okay. which could include being blackballed from Iowa public colleges and universities. Okay. Here's the link for looking up drop dates for courses. The add dates basically are for the first 5 days or so of the semester. That's when you can add classes at will. But drop class, you can drop all the way until about the midterm. Look, you just click on the link and you'll see what it is for this semester. But it will be somewhere around early July is typically when it is for the summer. And basically the drop means is that you can withdraw from the course and you won't have a letter grade, except it'll just show withdrawal on your transcript. Okay, it won't count towards your GPA. So if you are failing the course and you know that you don't have much hope of passing it by the end of the semester, then make sure that you drop by the end of the semester, or by the drop date, I mean. So anyway, scrolling down a little bit more, non-discrimination policy is the standard one, something that I firmly believe in. Feel free to read what we have here, click on the links, etc. Let me go down here and highlight this piece about students with disabilities. How that really applies to the online class is that, typically a student who's online course student who has a disability that requires time and a half testing. Meaning our typical testing time is 2 hours, they would get 3. But the only way to get that accommodation is to have the disability services coordinator generate some paperwork that you need to give to me. Okay, so make sure that if you know right now that you want or deserve or think you need an accommodation somehow, call this phone number right here and coordinate with the DSC to get your paperwork to me. All right, I'm going to get down here to the bottom of the syllabus, and that's pretty much it for the syllabus itself. I've tacked on the very end of this document instructions on how to get registered with MyMathLab. MyMathLab is basically an online homework portal, and Pearson has several different realms in there, including my bio lab, my accounting lab, my psych lab, etc., for many different disciplines out there. Of course, they have my stat lab and my math lab, which is what I'm concerned about. Okay. To get registered for your online homework with MyMathLab, just read the instructions here. It's very simple. You can't go wrong. Here's the link to the site itself. You're going to need the course ID, and here is the course ID right there. I just highlighted it. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to click on the link for MyLab and Mastering.com. Uh-oh, the internet's a bit slow. Sorry about that. Okay, any day now. Okay, so there it is. Once you've got the site pulled up, you might want to go ahead and bookmark this on your browser. Okay. Now, to get registered, you're going to have to click this link under the register verbiage there. Click on student, and you'll need an email account. Of course, you have your DMAC, but you can use any other email that you might have. Course ID, I just copied it from the instructions, and you'll need your access code that came with your textbook. Otherwise, you can, if you don't have the textbook and you don't have money right now, you can get access for up to 2 weeks with a temporary access option. Otherwise, you can purchase access by using a credit card or PayPal. All right, let's click on register now. This next step is to actually input the course ID. There it is. We'll click continue. And notice here in the far right, we have the information for the course. This verifies it. At this point, it's going to ask you to input a username and password. This applies if you've ever used Pearson before, meaning this MyLab. But, one account, will be good for all of the various Pearson sites. All right, so anyway, but if you already do have an account, go ahead and input your information there, username and password. Otherwise, if you've never used MyLab before or any other Pearson product before, click on create. And you'll create an account, and you probably, this is self-explanatory what to put in here. Let me highlight the fact that when you put in your first name and last name, please use your name that you used when you registered at DMAC. All right, just to make sure that what I see in the roles on my roll sheet matches what I see in MyMathLab for each person. Just this past spring semester, I had a student who she used her maiden name for DMAC, but used her married name because she was newly married. She used her married name in MyMathLab. And it took me several weeks to figure out who these two people were. So please try to help eliminate the confusion for me. Do this. So once you fill all this stuff out, read, if you want to, the privacy policy, acceptable use policy, etc. Click on I accept and then create account. And then what comes after this, either if you had already input your username and password, if you already had an existing account or created a new account, either way, the next page is to answer the question, do you have an access code or not? If you do, click on the link and then you'll have the ability to input your access code that came with your textbook. By the way, from what I understand, the DMAC bookstore sells standalone access codes, just little cards. You'll have to purchase them, though, if you bought your book secondhand. It didn't come with it. Otherwise, if you don't have an access code, you could purchase access by clicking on the credit card or PayPal or whatever, and then input that pay information there. Again, if you didn't have money, you could still get access by clicking on the link for temporary access, and you'll have up to 14 days to a free access until your money comes, and then you can click on upgrade access. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of this and then go into the actual site itself. Actually, I'm going to log out so you can see how to log in here. So if you click on MyLab and Mastering, And we'll go to the front page just like you're getting to it fresh. So here it is. You click and sign in. You'll input your username, either the username that you registered with or the email that you registered with, which, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't ever remember what crazy username that I used, but I always remember my DMAC email because I've had it for a long time. So you sign in, locate your course up here on the left, which is going to be this one here, Math 141. And you'll see a bunch of links over here on the left, and here's kind of a dashboard over here on the right. Some people make more advantage of it than others, but a lot of people just come here to click on homework. Okay, so click on homework. There's not going to be anything for you to see here because I've got it set up to where your homework assignments will not be available until the first day of the semester, which is on Tuesday morning, just after midnight. Okay, but when they are available, you are able to access them by using homework or the quizzes and test link. Now, when you look at quizzes and tests, these guys right here are basically practice tests for the different chapters. You feel free to play with them. You can take them as many times as you want, but they're not going to count for credit, okay? Do yourself a favor, either from homework or quizzes and tests, it doesn't matter. Just click on Show All. When you click on Show All, it'll show all the homework and all the quizzes and all the tests. That way, you don't get confused. A lot of students will only go to the homework and then forget about the fact that there's quizzes and tests. Okay? Here's a study plan, which is optional. It just gives you a bunch of practice problems. Here's something from the orientation at the very beginning. But you can move around, click on this link for view all chapters, and you can navigate to the different chapters. You can expand it out, look at the different sections. Each section has, you know, multiple objectives. All right, so, and each objective has, you know, a few questions. Okay, so there you go. But again, remember that study plan, it doesn't count for credit for the course, but some students need more practice, more exposure than others. So if you feel that you need more practice, more exposure, get in here and work some study plan problems before and or after you do the homework for your respective section. Okay, gradebook is going to be where you can see the progress as you work your way through the course here in MyMathLab. Okay, chapter contents, you'll have access to the electronic textbook. Okay, with these different chapters. All right, so like for example, chapter 1. And here's each of the sections. Notice that each of these sections is going to have a video presentation available, as well as the multimedia e-text that goes straight to that section. And then you can work in your study plan. So if you are diligent and are willing to take the time to do this, you can watch the video. I'm not going to click on it, but see, this is the reason why a couple of years ago I stopped recording videos to lecture on material, because I found out that these videos that are recorded are so much better than the ones that I would do. So there you go. So click on the video, read the textbook, work some problems, in the study plan, and then go to the homework for that section. Okay, going back to the main menu, tools for success. Again, that's something that you don't have to engage in, but if you want to, kick around in here and see if any of this stuff will be useful for you. Let me point out the fact that if you are brand new to using graphing calculators, this graphing calculator reference guide might be of some use to you. Same thing with this tutorial here. Here are some lessons also for using the calculator. Some people like to install TI programs to put on your Texas Instrument calculator, but just understand that you will need special software and as well as connecting hardware between your computer and your Texas Instruments calculator in order for you to download these programs. I will also tell you that there are a lot of resources on the internet, YouTube, Google, whatever, for doing whatever you want to do on your graphing calculator, for graphing feasible regions or factoring quadratic polynomials or whatever. Multimedia library down here. If you want to see what this site has available to you for any section, any chapter, just find your chapter, find a section, and then click on any of these. You can click on select all, or just suppose that you just want to see what videos are out there. This one will be the same video that you saw up here in chapter contents. Okay, by the way, I'm just letting you know now. PowerPoint slides, not very good, by the way, but they're there. Animation, interactive figures, multimedia textbook, etc. Please, you are welcome to use Pearson Tutor Services. You might get something like 2 hours for free if you can get through. And then they start charging you. They'll want a credit card number. I would recommend that you use the tutors that we have at the DMAC campus. Okay. All right. So we're just going to leave it at that. So what I want you to do between now and Tuesday morning is to get registered with MyMathLab, and then be ready to go for working your homework first thing on Tuesday. Okay. The first day of the semester. I'm going to go ahead and log off. And the last thing that I want to show you is Blackboard. Let me go ahead and log out here. I'll show you how to get access to Blackboard. I'm going to go ahead and close that, close that, close that. Let's go to the DMAC homepage. So www.dmac.edu, here's the DMAC homepage. If you go in the upper right hand corner of this site, click on log in, and then click on access online courses. You use the username and password that was given to you when you registered with or when you enrolled in the college. If you're not sure, contact help desk, which I think is 5500. Or is it 6,500? Just look it up on the website. Or you could ask me and I'll look it up and tell you. Okay. So anyway, put your username and password. It's the same username and password that you would use for webmail, email. Okay. So log in, find your course. For us, or at least for my site, it's going to be this one here, Finite Math. It's pretty simple. In the upper left-hand corner, we have this navigation panel. It's got a link for announcements, which is what always comes up first anyway. We have a link for the syllabus. There it is. So if you misplace the syllabus that I emailed to you, it's always available on Blackboard. Just click on the link, it's a PDF. A little bit of information about myself, nothing fancy. All right, and then course content. I don't have a whole lot here, but as the semester goes on, and maybe there's some other content that I want to make available to you, I'll put it here under the course content side. I just have 2 folders in one file here now. Some courses I teach, I have something like 20 different folders. This online course is going to be pretty simple. So you probably won't see much more than this. Any videos that I record, I will put the links in this folder here, including for this video after I render it and post it to YouTube. This document right here is the proctor form. I emailed this out to you along with the syllabus just a few days ago. We'll go ahead and open it up. It's a Word document. Excuse me. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things. I know I've already talked about proctoring, so I don't want to spend any more time on that. So like I said, here's the do's and don'ts in terms of finding proctors, what's allowed, what's acceptable and not acceptable. Okay, I'll let you look at that. You'll need to print off a hard copy if, again, you're going to be using a proctor. On the second page is where you, the student, fill out your name, Math 141, WW2, Finite Math, term, summer 2016, and then you take it to your proctor, or library, or school testing center, or whatever, wherever you are going to take it to. And they're going to fill out all this information here, and they're going to sign down here and date. And then they, the proctor, will need to either fax it to me, here's my fax number, or scan and email it to me at my DMAC email. Or in the worst case scenario, if they can't either fax or scan an email, they can, go super old school and pop it in the snail mail and mail it to me. There's my physical mailing address there. Okay. I will ask if they fax it to me to this fax number that they call me and let me know that it's on the way, because it's not just my fax machine that's shared by a bunch of other faculty. Okay, so let's see what else in Blackboard. We have this folder here. It's blank. There's nothing in there right now, but later on in the semester, before we take the midterm, I'm going to create a practice midterm and put it in there, and I'll email it out. I'll also follow it up by a couple days with written out solutions, and I'll post that also in this folder. After the midterm, everyone's taken the midterm, I figured out your midterm grades and stuff, I'll post the actual midterm exam solutions to the actual midterm exam in here as well. And then same story for the final exam, practice exam, solutions to the practice exam, and then after we take the final exam, I'll put the solutions in here as well. All right, so last thing here in Blackboard is this link right here. There's nothing for me to show you, but for when you want to check your grades and test scores and stuff, you click on this link. By the way, let me just point out that the scores that you achieve in MyMathLab will not be reported into Blackboard. Those two systems are not going to talk to each other. Okay. At midterm, I will figure a midterm homework score from MyMathLab and put it in Blackboard. And also at the final, meaning at the end of the semester, I'll put your final homework score in here as well. So you'll see it out of 200 points. When I do the midterm homework score, it'll be out of 100 points. So anyway, so that is it. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. I plan to record another video in a week or two, depending on what questions that people might have. The thrust of that second video is usually answering questions about MyMathLab, though, and maybe some other things about the syllabus that might get asked about, and Blackboard, or how to do certain things with the graphing calculator, or maybe a lecture that I thought might be useful to all students. Okay, so with that, I'm going to sign off, let you go. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions, issues, concerns about anything. Send me an email or a phone call. Thanks. All right. Goodbye.